Over the last year, I've been on a quest to find the best concert in the world. I've been to some of the biggest shows and gotten close to some of the biggest stars. And today we're going to be going to 4 completely different concerts, all with varying levels of fame, starting with a relatively unknown artist and working our way up to the biggest artist on the planet. Can the smaller artists show that they have what it takes to make it big? Can the big artists show that they deserve to be one of the biggest artists on the planet? Do monthly listeners have any contribution to how good a concert is? Well, in today's video, we're gonna find out. So sit back, relax, and enjoy 4 unbelievable concerts. Artist number 1 is Rohin, with 4,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Rohin is a small artist from Toronto, and he's causing a lot of buzz in the city. Not just for his music and his live performances, but also because of how good he is at creating an era. So I found out Rohin was going to be playing a private concert at a coffee shop. So I messaged his label and I asked if I could get tickets, and they very graciously gave me tickets to it. So I made my way down to the city and found this sketchy looking cafe. Either I'm going to walk in this door and get robbed, or I'm gonna be seeing Rohin. And luckily for me, I opened the door and Rohin was there. And he robbed me. Now this place was filled with people, so it was even hard to get a proper view of Rohin while he was performing. Oh my god, he was so good. Now, Rohin's first performance was fantastic. After the show, he also sent me a message on Instagram and thanked me for coming to the show, which I thought was just a class act. He really didn't need to do that, so shout out Rohin. So for Rohin, as far as does he have what it takes to be a big artist, I think so. Now, this next artist isn't a beginner. This next artist, in fact, has blown up in the last few months. They have a really big hit song called Home that made its rounds around TikTok. But they also had a really successful cover of Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso that went viral. And ever since, they've been putting out hit after hit after hit. Artist number 2 is Good Neighbors, with 7.1 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Now, I actually got told about Good Neighbors a long time ago, and I fell in love with their music. And once again, I reached out to their label and I said, hey, can you hook me up with some concert tickets? And they said, we've got you. I feel like you can tell when an artist is gonna blow up because when you go to a certain size venue, they seem bigger than the venue. And that's exactly what it was like being at the Good Neighbors concert. I mean, you could just tell that these guys were on the cusp of something really special. Now, as we got through the concert, we got to hear some of their bigger songs, like the Sabrina Carpenter cover. We also got to hear their big song Home, which was fantastic. And they closed their show out with just the craziest song ever. Now, Good Neighbors are very big, but they're not quite a household name yet. But this next artist is huge. In fact, this next artist has absolutely exploded over the last few years. This artist has headlined Coachella. They've played all of the big festivals. They have absolutely exploded with an arena tour all around the world. Artist number 3 is Fred Again, with 13.8 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Now, if you don't know Fred Again, I was in the same position that you were in. But oh my god, oh my. Now, Fred Again has absolutely exploded in the last few years because, honestly, just because of his talent. The first big viral video that I can remember of Fred Again going viral was his set at Boiler Room. If you don't know, Boiler Room is a cool little rave environment where you have a DJ and entirely surrounded by them are people on drugs. I don't know what else to say. But Fred Again stood out because of this. Another clip of Fred talking to Zane Lowe went absolutely viral for just his talent.
Like, the whole track at this point comes from... Do you know what I mean?
But a big thing about Fred Again's concerts is they're very much built around good vibes. But would it live up to the expectations that I had for it? I mean, everyone on the internet says that Fred Again puts on the best concert around. So when he announced he was coming to Toronto, I was stoked, and my brother actually got me tickets for my birthday. So me and my brother went to go see Fred Again. So we made our way into the venue, and right away, this show was just epic. Now when the show started, it was crazy, because he had a bunch of production on the main stage, only to start the show from the B stage. And the panic of everyone in this video, figuring out that he's at the B stage, is hilarious. But right off the bat, man, vibes were feeling good. I can't even lie to you. But then, the party started. Holy crap, the place was bumping! And then came to the part of the show where things slowed down a little bit and he asked us to take our phones and our lighters out.
Listen! Shit, you look fucking beautiful! We see you left side, we see you! Okay, hold on.
But the chill vibe only lasted so long before we started jamming the fuck out. So that was Fred's concert, a concert that lived up to every expectation I had for it. It brought good vibes, it brought crazy production, a crazy atmosphere. The music was amazing, but just his cadence and the way he controlled the room was fantastic. Each show, we keep getting better and better. However, can an artist get too big to where the concerts just aren't that great? Well, this next artist isn't just a big artist. They're not just huge. They're not just generational. They have the most monthly listeners of any artist in the world. Artist number 4 is The Weeknd, with 121 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Now, The Weeknd is one of my favorite artists of all time. You can see up here, I have My Dear Melancholy on vinyl. I love The Weeknd. So for me, seeing him live was a dream come true. I had been waiting so long, especially being from Toronto. I wanted to see him so badly. So I was going to the opening show with my girlfriend, and we were so stoked. But it just so happened that the day of the concert, all the internet connection in Toronto just went down. I didn't have cell service, okay? There was nothing. There was no service for anything. No one could contact each other. So they ended up canceling the show. And yeah, it sucked. I shaved my neck for this. But then, a year later, it got rescheduled and I was at the concert, finally. Now you'd think, a year later, oh my god, this concert's going to be unreal, especially The Weeknd's home city. He's gonna make it special somehow, especially since he had to cancel the opening night of the tour. No. In fact, it was a really bad show, actually. And I don't mean The Weeknd was bad. He was great. His vocals were fantastic. He performed well, but the sound in such a big stadium was so bad. Most of the time, I had to wait and figure out what song I was actually hearing because it was so hard to hear what was being said and what was being sung. To be honest, I was really disappointed by the show. Here I make the show sound a bit worse than it actually was. This was still a really great show with a really talented artist. Like, I had a really great time at this concert still. But for how much money the concert actually cost, I mean, I'm pretty sure tickets were reselling for this concert for like $500. So for $500, I don't think this show is worth it. However, it was still a good show. But that's not to say that The Weeknd is a bad performer, because I actually got an opportunity to see him again at Coachella a year later. And at Coachella, he was much better. The vibe of everyone was just so great, the sound was fantastic, the production was like 25 out of 10. I mean, take a look at this clip. Tell me that wasn't insane, and look at the crowd on this clip. So while The Weeknd might be the biggest artist in the world, I do think that for concerts, there reaches a point where venues get too big. I think there's a nice sweet spot with arenas and theaters where you have medium to big artists who put on really great shows, normally for great value. And then you get into the really popular big shows that cost you a ton of money and you risk possibly not even being able to hear the concert. So I think in the overall concept of the video, do monthly listeners affect concerts? Absolutely. I think monthly listeners really determine the size of the venue. You're not going to be a Weeknd and play in a theater. It just doesn't make sense when you have 120 million people listening to your music. I think once you reach the point where you're so famous where you're doing stadiums, things start to change a little bit. And I think from this whole video, you'd think that The Weeknd would put on the best show, but realistically it's that middle range. It's those two middle slots that make for the best shows in my opinion. But let me know down below which concert you thought was best. Subscribe if you want to see more concert videos, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.